Today I'm going to show you how I do a multi-part stencil, just a quick video on that. I left the initial sketch in the house, but what I usually start with is an initial sketch. I have a shaded sketch in the house, but I don't need that for this. So what I did was I took the sketch, put it up against my light box, put this piece of paper over it, and I went over it in pencil. And then I went over it again in purple marker, so I have a nice thick line. Then from there, I put it in my printer, and I made copies. These are the copies made. Now the thing is, what you need to do when you want to get multiple copies that are exactly aligned, like these are, you can see how they're all aligned exact same place on the page. When you open the page where you put your paper in, make sure you push your paper back all the way to the back so that all the paper is lined up exactly, and they're going to come out exactly if they're lined up exactly. So I have, as you can see, this doesn't line up with this. You see how that's higher on the page than this is? But these all line up exactly. So this is what I'm going to be cutting my stencil out of. Now you can do it with just paper, or you can do it with, I'm going to do cardstock, and I'll show you how I do it, and how I make sure that I cut them out, so if I line them up, they'll come out exactly right. Now you can do this by if you do your paint on the gel plate and then put your stencil over it, it's not, I mean, you can see where you're supposed to be, and that's fine. But if you want to do it where you're stenciling onto the paper, which I will show you in the next video, I'll show you the two different ways. Right now I'm just going to show you how to cut it. Then you want them aligned better. Now what I'm going to use is this cardstock here. It is of course longer than the stencil I need, but that's not a problem. What you need to do is take, I'm not going to worry about the background because I'm going to pre-print that on the gel plate. I need one stencil cut for the green of the cactus. I need to cut a separate one for the pot, the background of the pot, the foreground of the pot, and this. And so that's 1, 2, and I think I'm going to do an outline one, so I need at least 3. So I'm going to do 4 sheets, because I might make a decision and do something else when I'm done. But okay, so I have 4 of these sheets. 4, I think I made 5. No, 4. Okay, and in between them, now I'm using a crocodile on this. You can use any hole punch, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these sheets in between. One sheet of what I'm going to use my stencil for in between each of these. And one in the back. More. Now the reason why I'm using my crocodile is because this is going to be quite thick, but you don't have to do it all at once like I'm doing it. And I would cut that down right there, but I'll come back and do that in a minute. Now you want to make sure you've got them stacked perfectly aligned. Now what I want to do is I want to have a hole here for lining up the sides, and one at the top for lining up the top. So if you've got the first hole aligned, like here, it could be like this and still be perfectly aligned, but you align one and then you align the other one. If they're both perfectly aligned, then all of these are going to come out aligned. Now we're going to see if my crocodile wants to, I haven't used it in so long. I'm going to do one up top in the middle, middle-ish. Now I'm making sure they're perfectly aligned. Now I have to keep them perfectly aligned, so what I'm doing now, boy, that's getting rusty. So I'm putting some clips on here. I've got the extra large paper clips. And I'm putting up here so this is not going to move on me. actually like the hand hole punch, but it wouldn't go through this many layers. Right now I'm doing a lot of layers. And you can actually do more than one. Make sure that one's aligned perfectly, yep, perfectly. And I'll do one more down here so it'll be closer to where I can see it when I'm using it. Now, since I'm not going to be cutting anything out of that background, it doesn't matter that it has holes in it. I'm not using that at all. Okay, so I have my 3 holes aligned. So if you align, hope that doesn't fall. When you're lining them up, if you make sure those are perfectly aligned, then what you cut will come out be perfectly aligned with all the other ones. Can you see? I've got a hole here for lining it at the top. Once I get that aligned, I will just move this. I'll show you, because you can take them apart once it's done. Now if I were to take this sheet, and I'm going to put it over this sheet to cut out the first layer. See what I mean? I'll line up that top hole. Then I'll make sure those side holes are aligned perfectly. Then I'll stick my paper clips on. Not anywhere where I'm going to be cutting. And there we go. So those are now aligned, and they'll stay aligned. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out, I'll start it and show you, and then I'll come back when I'm done. I had to go get my cutters. Nothing like not being prepared. Okay, and this has a fresh blade in it. Okay, so what do I want to do? I have to decide what I want. I originally was going to have 2 colors of green where you can see the edge, but I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to cut the whole one out. Now, for the green, I'm going to go inside these lines and cut that cactus out, and I'm going to tighten this up. I'm going to go push down because I want to go straight inside the cactus. I have to tighten this some more. It's not a very good blade, but I mean the blade's good, the cutter's not very good. I'm going to cut that whole cactus out in one piece. And I'm trying to make sure I push down hard enough to cut through this whole thing. And I will refresh the blade every once in a while. Did I come through? Not yet. Okay. Alright. I'm gonna move the paper as I go along. You always make sure your hand is not in the line of fire where your blade is coming. Out of my way. Can you see what I'm doing? Little nub came out. Looks like it's going through all right. Yep. And you can hold the blade in there and move the paper. That's easier for you. It usually is for me. I've got several of these that I've designed. This is the simplest one, that's why I'm doing it for the video. That I want to cut out this week. So it'll be a week of cutting, that's for sure. And they may be stuck in little pieces. You can go and pull that out when you're done. I'm really pushing down hard when I'm doing this, even though this is a nice brand new blade. Now I'm going to do the outside edge and not worry about that inside line. So I change my mind halfway through like I usually do. That's looking pretty good. Seems more complicated than it is. It's just a matter of lining up what you got, and if you do those, there's different ways to do it. I mean, if I was doing this on a stencil material that was clear, you know, I could just do it with one drawing, but I like doing it this way. I mean, it does waste a little paper. I understand that, but for me, this is the best way to do it, because I know those, if I've got that paper in the same place in the printer, and I hit it, copy 5, it's going to give me 5 perfectly aligned pieces of paper. It always has. Even when I've done really precise ones, which I haven't in a while, but even when I've done really precise ones, they've come out great, because they were done in the copy machine. Or the printer. Alright, let's see if we can get this apart now. Okay. And can you see there's little places where it's catching? Can you see how there's little places where it's just catching a little? And that's okay. I'm just going to take my blade and coax it apart. Any place that's catching. Just put your blade in there, coax that apart. So there are places that want to cut and places that want to pretend they've perforated. You just have to figure out which place is which. Now if you there we go. I thought that place was going to be problematic, but it's not. Or maybe it is. Yeah, it is. Going to be a problem child. Alright. Go there. And here. And I did have a fresh blade in here, so this happens to me every time. The little edges get caught. But I don't like overcutting, because sometimes you end up with lines that where you didn't want them to be. So I do not like overcutting. I like it to be somewhat predictable. Yeah, I know I'm cutting in the direction of my finger. Realize it just as I did it, but there. Now you want to save this part too, because you may need this for something. You may want to go over it. But, and it doesn't matter where you cut it down here as long as you've got that up top piece. And also save these, because like if I'd wanted to put something in there, like a bee or something, I could cut it out of this and put it on later. But save your pieces. So now I have the cactus portion of it. Let me see if I got a black piece of paper here. There's the cactus portion of it. Now I'm going to clean up this little line here. But that little in any other place, like right here where it's not as round as I'd like it to be, I'm going to go clean that up a little. See, I'm just cleaning up that little line there. A few places where it wanted to double cut. Alright, so now I did that part. Now I would line up another set. Okay, there's my cactus. And to do this other, I would line this up. Perfectly. Make sure they're all perfectly aligned, and they are. So now when I do these stencils and I line them up, if I'm doing them on the page and I line them up, they're not going to, you're not going to have a cactus hanging out in midair and then a pot somewhere else. It's going to line up just like it's supposed to. Now I'm going to take this, whoops, wrong way, lay it on here to make sure it's lining up. Can you see what I mean? How that's lining up? Now I'm going to cut this pot section out. But I'm going to cut it along the line, but I'm going to leave this line here so that the, if I cut it out in one big thing, you wouldn't see the separation. So I'll show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut out this part of the pot. So let's just do that. Cut out this part of the pot. Now, I want to look and see where it lines up. I'll cut along this outer edge here. And this part of the pot. And right here. And this I will do in like a terracotta color. Now see, I left a little bit of a line there, just a little bit. Okay, see how that lines up? Now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Oh, my thing came out, but it's still aligned, so my paper clip came out. we go. Now I'm going to leave this line here between the back of the pot and the top of the pot. Actually going to come out even further than it shows on the paper. Right up to the corner. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to leave the line in between the two parts of the pot. Let's pull that out. I might need to go even further with that. Let's see what we got back here. I may need to change this blade pretty soon. It's not even wanting to cut where I knew it cut. I do have a better X-Acto knife, but I kind of like when I do these videos, I like using the basic stuff. Because that way if somebody doesn't have, they won't get discouraged and go, you know, well, I don't have that. You can do all this stuff with the basics. This is actually, this one's a dollar store X-Acto knife, so $1.25 at our store now, though. Okay, so let's get that cut out. Oh, I see why I didn't cut around the cactus. That's why he didn't want to come out. Now here there's a very small line there, and if you accidentally cut it, just use Scotch tape. You can Scotch tape it back together if you accidentally cut it. There's nothing to be afraid of. It all can be fixed. Well, you can actually make a stencil out of Scotch tape and paper. So if you have to tape it back together, you can use masking tape, Scotch tape, packing tape. I've used packing tape before when I made big boo-boos. So even if you found yourself made a mistake, so there's that cut out. You can see what that will look like. And then I'm going to do another one that's going to cut that dirt out. But I'm going to do the bottom because, and I'm going to leave a line. Get warm out here. I'm going to have to go in pretty soon. I'll probably cut those other two in the house. Sit at the kitchen table and do it, or I can watch supper being cooked while I'm cutting these out. You notice some places I'll go outside that black line. So I'm just making decisions as I go along. Some places I'll go inside those black lines. Nothing I do is unfixable. Okay, so here we've got the pot. We've got the cactus, the pot. Might as well finish it up. And those would line up with those holes when you're doing your work. And now the next thing I gotta do is just that dirt. And the background I'm gonna do separately, so I'm not really worried about the background. And I might come back and do an outline one. I don't know. I never know until I'm doing it what I'm going to do. But I did a video, the last video on where I was checking out different textures to do these with, by doing it in different ways, like painting on the texture instead of just rolling over it. Okay, so now I'm just going to do those. I'm going to leave those rocks. I'm going to cut around the rocks is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to try somehow to attach them up. No, not with that. Let's see. We got these two that are attached. And this one. If you make this one bigger, it will be attached to that one. There we go. That's how we're going to do that. Just come down right there, and that'll be one piece. Then I'll come over here. And this will be one piece. This is a little bit tedious because it's tedious for me too. But I was only going to do one section, but I do want to show you how you make decisions as you go along. Now you can plan it all beforehand if that's how you are, but I tend to do this as I go along. We're going to come up here and leave the cactus part. I'm not taking too long on this video, but you can see. And I will come back and show you how it's printed on the next video. I'm just going to end this video with the stencil cut in 3 pieces. Now that I've made that one, we have to come over here and separate these little areas, which is going to be hard to do now that I've cut that up. I'm just going to make a little separate area right there. Alright, that area can come up. I'll show you what I was talking about with the tape. Hopefully I have some tape right here somewhere. I usually do. It doesn't matter what kind of tape it is, really. Ugh. I do believe something leaked into my... Don't want to use that. Alright. Anyhow. Something escaped into my stuff here. But I'll show you later. Basically you would tape this down to do these individual sections if you weren't happy with what you got. And I'm going to have to go back and redo those little stones because I cut them off. But basically just put a piece of tape and go back and recut it. That's all you need to do. I would, but my tape is all gummed up for some reason. Gonna have to check what leaked in that box. So we have 3 sections. You can see there's the first section. There's the pot section. And this is the dirt section. Oops. And then that one goes up there. And I'll cut these others down, but that's your picture right there in 3 sections. Cactus, pot, and the dirt that goes into the pot. You line them up, they should line up perfectly because you cut them out all lined up. So that, okay, so as you can see, I was working on this one. I'm going to show you how to print those stencils that I showed you how to make. Now see this one, it's got 5 layers, but it needs work because I did it originally with the intention of doing a dark line on the outside layer. But I changed my mind halfway through, so you can see down here where the bird's legs don't meet up to its body, and I have to work on the claws a little better. But this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 colors, and I'm going to take this inside and rework the stencil just a little bit to make up for where I'm not going to do the dark underneath anymore. But this is just a test sheet done on, I'm using cheap copy paper. I'm going to show you how to do that cactus. I'm going to do 3 colors on it. The cactus that I showed you how to cut here. Let me get the stencils out. And I'm going to do it in 3 layers. Show you how I line it up on the paper. Now I line up my stencils. They should all line up because you cut those dots. Now you're going to lay your paper. You have to figure out which is the top. I think this is going to be the top. I'm just using a sheet that I rolled it over with the grungy stuff that was left on the plate from another printing. And that's what I'm going to use. Now you want to lay your paper. Now it's important to have your paper cut to the right size, the size of your plates. That always helps to have it all the same size. Now it might be slightly different. If it's slightly different, you make sure it lines up exactly on those 2 sides where the dots are. See here and here? If there's a little bit extra over there, it's not going to matter, but you want where the dots are. Now I've got them all lined up with the dots. I'm going to hook them together while I mark them. Make sure they're lined up perfectly with the dots. Now you can erase this little mark I'm about to make on the Now the page that you're going to print on is on the bottom. Your sheets are on top, and what you're going to do, make sure you keep it aligned, is you're going to make a circle right there in that hole. So you've got a place on your sheet, you know where this stuff goes. I'm pushing down a little hard because I want to be able to see it. It might be better to use a sharper pencil, but I don't know if I've got a sharp pencil. Aha, mechanical pencil. Because you really want to know where you're supposed to be on this. You want a good, definitive line there. You don't want it to be off in any way, so you make sure you fill it up. All right. I'm going to take that apart. Now I'm going to take my first stencil, which will be, I'll start with the green. We'll start with the plant itself. And I always expect that I'm probably going to have to adjust this. Now you line it up with those dots you made. with that one and line it up with that. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing, but I'm lining it up with those dots. Yep, there it goes with that one. Slide it up to line up with this one. Sometimes it's quite the pain, but this one's not as precise as that bird one because it doesn't have really any line work, but you don't want the plant hanging out of the pot either. There we go, that's good. Now I'm gonna do my paper clips to keep it together, and I always keep looking to make sure I didn't knock it out of the way or something. There's my paper clips. Now right now I'm just checking to see how this is going to look. So I'm not really worried about what color is where. I'm just going to do some greens. Let's do a dark green. And I do one printing and then I go check it. And then I adjust whatever needs adjusting. Like in that other one, I have to adjust one of the layers. Now you're going to take it stencil side down, lay it on there. I don't know if I can do this in one video or two. I'm really hoping to be able to do it in one video. And you can use your hand because you can feel where that stencil is. I like to use this thing, but your hand also works just fine. When you want to get crisp edges, make sure you get all around that edge. And just pull it up. Pull it up from this end too so I don't rip it. And I'm just pulling out the flippies. Stencil up there to dry. And there's your first layer. There's your cactus layer. Now the next layer I'm going to do is going to be the pot layer, because I know I'm probably going to have to adjust the dirt layer because of the way I did it. So let's do the pot. Let's pull some of this up. Clean off my brayer a bit. We're going to do it in a terracotta color. Hopefully all this green isn't going to... It doesn't want to clean up, does it? Hold on. Let's put some water on it. It's hot out here today, so this is drying up quickly, so it's not a really good test day. I'll probably do this Wednesday morning. Probably do another test on all these after I've adjusted a few things. And see what I can do. Getting those layers. I mean, they're aligned. It's just that halfway through, I changed my mind. You really should not do that. Because I was going to do it with a thick black layer around the bird. Changed my mind halfway through. So I made a mess of it, but it's fixable. It's very fixable. Now I'm just going to do a terracotta color. Oh, that's way too much paint. I'm going to have to pull a bunch of that off and put it in a cup. Put it over there for now. Way too much paint. Alright, now I'm going to line this paper up again with this one. I'm going to find my dots. Now normally you would wait for these to dry. and do the next layer. I usually work on 2 or 3 at a time. That's why I'm doing different ones at a time. But now I found the dot on the page, same way I did for the first layer. I'm clipping it down. Ah, fingernails, they're not cooperating. Alright, now I'm going to lay it down. That is way too much paint on there, but I only need it right here, so. I'm going to pull a little bit more. Pull that up. And off my fingers. Now we'll pull this sheet off and put it to one side to dry. And you can use these stencils over and over and over again. These are just, what is it called? It's cardboard. Okay, there's the second layer. I was just making sure I have the volume on. Now this third layer is probably going to have to be redone. Let's just do it in maybe black, I guess. Well, let's put a purple on there. Now I can see about where I'm going to need it, so I'm just going to do a purple over that just to get a contrast. It's going to definitely be a dirt color. Alright, now we're going to take this last one and we're going to line it up over our page. Now it's going to stick a little bit because of that. Oh no, it's dry. Ooh, things are drying out here so fast today. I'm trying to find my dots, lining them up. Very good. Taking my paper clips, clipping it down. Clipping it down. I say it, but can I really do it? Okay. I'm going to lay that down where the purple is. Give it a rub. And you can pull the page up if you leave some of it open so you can check the page. Yeah, see, I know this really needs to be worked on. That dirt layer is not where it's supposed to be. I knew that when I was cutting it, but alright, we're going to pull it up. But for me, there's always adjustments you need to make. Alright, and this is just 3 layers. I'll probably make another 1 or 2 layers on this. But can you see how that dirt needs to go all the way around the front? I think I had decided to cut one more with the rocks in it, and I didn't go ahead and do that. So that's why I've got the gap here, and I knew I was going to have it. But there you go. I hope you can see that that's how you do the three layer stencil, or a 4 or a 5. You just keep going. I'm going to go back and work over this one. I need to adjust here. This pot needs to come up closer to the pot. The dirt needs to go around the entire base here, which it does, so I'll expand it out a little for the next one. But see, now I've got this to look at, I know what I need to do. And that's how I usually do these. Because I'm one to, I don't plan very well in steps. I'll change my mind halfway through. And that's what happened here on both of them. So I'm going to cut out holes so that the rocks can go in there. And I'm going to expand this, expand the orange up so it's only got a thin line of white around the top of the pot. But you can see, this is how you do it. And this is that other video that I did where I was working on texture. When I get the stencil correct and it's working fine every time, then I will come back and do the textures that I was practicing, the little dots and stuff on my cactus and stuff. But anyways, that's showing you how to do these. I'm just starting work on 3 of them. So I'll actually do a video and show you how they look when they're done, but this is how you do a very simple stencil, how you align a very simple stencil. It's very easy, not hard to do at all. You can do it. Thank you very much for viewing my video. Please put a like if you like it. Please subscribe if you want to see more, and hit the bell icon if you want to be notified when more come out. Thank you very much. You have a lovely day.